Yamangin Nardi Simpson Gaya, Yualarai Wiringa, Biwidinga. My name's Nardi Simpson. I'm a Yualarai woman, a Sango and a totem, and I send my acknowledgements, deepest respect to the land that these words skim across. My epiphany took 20 years. Shame. And it was courtesy of my father, Richard Simpson, aka Bubba, who is a man of few words. And I'm a girl of too many. So we don't talk each other's language, which is why it took so long for me to get. Anyway, Dad was born in Gamilaroi country in Walgett, and both his parents were born 40 miles up the road in Yualarai country in Angledore. And I was born in Gadigal country in Sydney. And every holidays, we would travel up to Walgett and Lightning Ridge and spend all our time up there with the aunties and unks and the cousins, and, you know, weddings and birthdays and funerals, you know, everything in between. But there is a space between Sydney and Walgett. And in that space, I think I relied on my dad to fill in a lot of that space, some of the gaps. And so from very early on, you know, I'd always ask him questions. Dad, how come blah, 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 blah. Dad, why is that thing blah, 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 you know? Dad, who is da, 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 da. And even from very young age, he would say the same, he'd give me the same answer. You don't need to know. And as I grew up, you know, became teenager, my questions, I thought, I'll try and get a bit more tricky, get an answer out of this fella. Dad, why is it that blah, 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 blah? You don't need to know. Oh, Dad, some people say blah, 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 blah. How come la, 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 la? You don't need to know. Dad, what do you think about blah, 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 when such and such? And yeah. You don't need to know. Too smart for me, see? Anyway, the world changed around this conversation and computers started to come in, showing my age. And all of a sudden, anything I wanted to know was like at the tip of my fingers. I thought, I'm going to ask him again. Surely he'll see that you can't, there's no good holding out, you know. Keep asking him. And usually questions about people and place, culture, identity, practice, all these things, you know. Keeping that sustenance going away from place, in the space away from place, you know. And so I come to him a bit more maybe confrontational or something, I don't know. Dad, why is it that blah, 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 blah? You don't need to know. Dad, how come la, 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 la? You don't need to know. Why is it that mob there and that mob there and that place there, la, 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 la? You don't need to know. And it continued on, you know, through my adult time, becoming a really frustrating thing for me. I thought, why is this fellow always backhanding me, you know? I do need to know. I want to know. And if you don't tell me, it will never be known, you know, getting wild. I was sort of getting self-righteous, actually. Getting wild in my self-righteousness. And it wasn't until, you know, I sat down and started to think about what it was he was actually saying and what it was I was hearing. that did I realise what was going on. You know, for years, whenever I'd asked about myself or my homeland or my community, he would often say, you don't need to know. And over the years, you know, that answer had come through this ear as you don't need to know. And I'd done my own computing, you know, in this old computer up here. And it had come out of this ear, me hearing, you don't deserve to know. And that's why I was so wild. When I sat down and thought, actually, he's not saying I don't deserve. He's not saying I don't deserve. Oh, so he's saying you don't need. And sitting down really and thinking about that. So if I don't need to know, what does that mean if I don't need to know? And I realised what he was actually showing me, you know. And then, the place I've come to in this 20-year lesson is that you don't need to know. Rather than my dad giving me an answer to something, then and there, he was actually creating a landscape of knowledges for me to inherit, for me to be part of, for me to practice a relationship to. What he was doing was saying, you don't need to know, but that fella up there does, and let him look after it. You don't need to know, but that place over there holds that thing, and that's the right place. You don't need to know, but that story belongs to that mob, and they'll look after it for you. And so you don't need to know turned into, look what you're surrounded by. Look at the knowing that surrounds you. Make your relationship not to the answer, but to the people who take care of the answer for you. That's what he's telling me. 5 words. What a gift. You don't need to know. What a gift. You don't need to know. And I don't need to know. I need for them to know. And I need to practice care and love and relationship to the people that do. That's my epiphany. It's been a beautiful little secondary epiphany that he taught me that to say profound things you don't need a lot of words. That's my next 20 years of practice, learning how to do that there. And I'm grateful for it. Guru. Thanks.